So welcome everyone. I'm Dr. Liz Rutledge, Director of Wildlife Resources at the North Carolina Wildlife Federation. Thank you all for attending tonight's webinar, which is part of the 15 webinar series, Learn to Deer Hunt. This series offers a dynamic lineup of presentations and materials curated by the New Hill Hunter Education and Mentoring Program, covering a wide variety of topics to guide new deer hunters from preseason scouting to processing. The series is hosted and moderated by the North Carolina Wildlife Federation in conjunction with its Southway Conservationist chapter. Okay, so we'll go over some general housekeeping real quick. We ask that everyone stay muted throughout the webinar until we have the question and answer session at the end. Also, this webinar is being recorded for future use, so please turn your camera off if you do not want to be seen on the video recording. We ask that you either put any questions you have in the chat box during the presentation, which will be read during the Q&A session, or you may raise your hand to be called on during the Q&A session at the end. To raise your hand, use the hand sign in the top right corner of your screen. And all right, so I'll take a couple minutes to provide you with some background on Wildlife Federation programming related to R3, which is Retention, Recruitment, Reactivation. And so the Wildlife Federation has the Academics of Field program. We've partnered with NC State University, the Wildlife Resources Commission, and other conservation groups to build upon current R3 programming and to introduce college students from non-traditional backgrounds to hunting and shooting sports. We also have the Getting Started Outdoors program, which is a partnership between the Federation and the Commission to provide all-day educational workshops and one-on-one deer hunting mentoring opportunities for participants. For those interested in wildlife policy issues, the Wildlife Federation has the Camo Coalition, which is a listserv to keep members up to date on policy specifically geared towards hunters and anglers. Artemis is a program from the National Wildlife Federation that the state affiliate NCWF promotes to uplift women in sporting and conservation to provide small group hunting and mentoring opportunities specifically for females. The Federation is proud to host this webinar series in conjunction with the New Hill Education and Mentoring Program and additional partners who are contributing the educational content for the webinars that we're able to bring to you. In addition, Wildlife Federation volunteers Guy and Judy Gardner, who a lot of you may know, partner with the Wildlife Resources Commission to provide skills-based seminars consisting of Deer Hunting 101 and From Field to Freezer Deer Processing. These are usually in September and they are open to the public. The Federation also works directly with North Carolina Hunters for the Hungry to facilitate the donation of hunter harvested deer to feed the hungry across the state. And the seminar series was curated by the New Hill Education and Mentoring Program and facilitating partners, which are listed on the slide. The webinars are for adults new to deer hunting and include practical topics to explore the ins and outs of hunting and enhance your overall outdoor experience. Please see the New Hill Education and Mentoring Program Facebook page for more information on field opportunities. And so this evening, I'm happy to introduce our guest speaker, Wildlife Enforcement Officer, Kayla Herrera. I'll provide a little bit of background on Officer Herrera, and then I'll let her introduce the webinar topic for this evening. So Officer Herrera is the Wake County Wildlife Enforcement Officer. She grew up in Fayetteville and went to NC State University to study wildlife biology. After graduating from NC State, she was hired as a temporary fisheries technician with the North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission, where she worked with the District 2 fisheries biologist Ben Ricks on the Neuse River. She then worked as a dispatcher with the Wildlife Resources Commission Law Enforcement Division before being hired as a wildlife officer. She trained in Onslow County and was stationed in Carteret County, where she was an officer for almost 3 years before moving to Wake County. She's been the Wake County officer for a little over 6 months and has greatly enjoyed it. So let's welcome Officer Herrera, and we're very happy to have her with us tonight. So you can take it from here.
Thank you, Liz. I appreciate it. So tonight we are pretty much going to go over some regulations for new hunters. I want to get you guys familiar with this little book right here, the North Carolina Inland Fishing, Hunting, Trapping Regulations Digest. We're going to focus on deer hunting regulations, but we'll hit on some other popular hunting: turkey, bear, ducks, and dove. So pretty much you can get this book right here anywhere you get a hunting license. So at Walmart in the sporting goods section, Dick's Sporting Goods, Cabela's. It comes out every year on August 1st. When you flip through it, you'll notice that the new regulations will be in red, so you don't have to reread the whole book every year. You just look at what's in red, and that's what's changed from year to year. The book is broken down into 6 main sections, them being licenses, inland fishing, trapping, hunting, game lands, and local laws. So let's see, we'll talk about licenses real quick, and I'm going to kind of flip around from the PowerPoint to the actual PDF version of the book, so we can look through it together, and you guys can get a feel for it. So who needs a license? So anybody who wants to fish or hunt, if they are 16 years old or older, they need to have a license. What do you need to buy a license? So for a fishing license, you can just go in and buy a fishing license. But for a hunting license, if you have never bought a hunting license in North Carolina before, you would need to bring in a certificate, like a hunter ed certificate, either from North Carolina or from another state, to be able to purchase a hunting license. There is an exception. You can buy a hunting license without having your certificate if you get the Hunter Heritage Apprentice Permit, is what it's called. And it basically allows you to go hunting with somebody who is at least 18 years old and properly licensed in the state. So you can go hunting with them and stay within sight or hearing of them, and you don't need to have hunter education. But other than that, you would, if you wanted to go hunting by yourself, you would need to have that hunter education. So where can I buy a license? Like I said, you can go to Walmart in the sporting goods section. You can go online at ncwildlife.org, over the phone, or Cabela's, Dick's Sporting Goods. There's some Ace Hardwares that sell licenses, and they'll usually, if there are one of our dealers, they'll have the diamond, the wildlife diamond, that'll say licenses sold here. So let me let's see. This is the regs book right here. So this is the first little section. As you can see, this is license information. This gives you all your general information. So it'll tell you where you want to purchase, where you can purchase a license. If you have to replace your license, reciprocal agreements between a few states, and then residency requirements and all that. And then it goes into some other privileges that you might need, like your federal duck stamp or your bear stamp or your HIP certification. It explains everything right there. Let me switch back to the PowerPoint. So licenses are broken down into resident or non-resident. Then you have your 10-day, your annual, or your lifetime licenses. And then you can have, you can get a fishing license or a hunting license, or we have different combination licenses that include both. So there's a lot to look at when you're deciding what kind of license you need. It's a good thing to know what kind of hunting you want to do before you go in and you buy your license. Because if you go to Walmart and you say, hey, I want to hunt deer, what do I need? And they end up selling you the wrong type of license. Sometimes you can't rely on the people at Walmart because they're not really experts at you know, what everything includes. So if we go back to the regs book, you can see, you know, it's broken down into fishing, hunting, and then all your other stuff. But I like this page of the book because it summarizes all the licenses, and then it shows you what they include. So if you wanted to just, you know, big game hunt, all you would need is your big game license here, right there. If you wanted to do everything, you know, some fishing, some hunting, it's good to get a sportsman license because that includes everything except, you know, your trapping. So this is a good reference to look at before you actually go buy your license. So I would mark that page, but yeah, that's a good page to look at. So I'm sorry, I keep switching back and forth. Other permits or privileges you might need are a federal duck stamp if you want to go duck hunting. You can buy that online. Your bear stamp if you want to bear hunt. You can buy your big game license, and that includes bear, but you have to get this separately. It's an extra $10, so you got to make sure you have that. So it's not included in the big game license. And then you have your HIP certification, and this is for if you want to hunt migratory birds like dove or duck. And all that is, it's a free, you know, certification, but all that is just a questionnaire for when you want to. So yeah, all your HIP certification is it's a little questionnaire asking you about duck hunting, just pertaining to duck hunting. But you got to have that if you want to dove hunt or, you know, any kind of migratory bird hunt. And then the hunter heritage permit, like I was explaining, you can get that. You can ask for that when you go buy your license if you have not taken hunter ed yet. So big game tags. These are what the tags look like this year. It's a little bit different than last year. They've changed it up. So instead of just punching a hole in your tag, now you actually have to punch the month and the day that you harvested that animal. Okay. So you need your tags for big game. So this includes deer, bear, and wild turkey. Your tags expire June 30th of each year. So even if you haven't used your tags, you still need to get new tags. And then you need to validate and register big game. So what that means to validate your tag is just like I said, you're just punching out the month and the day. After you, let's say you go deer hunting and you shoot a deer, before you can legally move that animal, you have to punch the month and the day on your tags. And then before you clean the animal, before the animal is left unattended, or the animal is left with another person, or by 12 p.m. the next day, the animal has to be registered. So let's say you get a deer. Before you can bring it to the truck, you're going to punch your tags. And then let's say you want to clean it right there, cut it up and put it in the cooler. Then at that point, you have to register it. And the way you register it is you can call it in at this number or go online. And when you register it, all you're doing is answering a few questions. It's going to ask you what county you harvested the deer. Was it a doe? Was it a buck? Did you use a rifle? Were you on game lands? You know, just a few questions. And then it'll give you a number. And you're going to write that number on this line. That's going to be your authorization number. Okay. So if you kill that deer and you don't end up cleaning it right then and there, then you have until 12 p.m. the next day to actually register it. So that kind of changed a little bit from last year. It was different. You had 24 hours, but now they gave a deadline, 12 p.m. the next day. So yeah, after you report it, you'll get an authorization number and you just write that on the line. And then it has all those directions right here on the side. Be careful, make sure you punch the right tag for the animal that you killed, because once you punch that tag is done. You cannot, if you accidentally, punch your turkey tag, you can't get another turkey tag. So just be careful, make sure you punch the right tag. Also, if let's say you're 15 and you don't need a license legally to hunt, you still need to tag the animal. So you would go to Walmart and ask for license exempt tags, and they would give you a set of tags and you would still do the same thing. So you don't have to have a license, but you still have to tag it. If you own property and you're hunting on your own property, you do not have to have a license, but you still have to tag it. You still have to have tags and you still have to go through this process. So that's another thing. Just keep that in mind. So now we'll hit on some other deer hunting regulations. But before we do that, I just wanted to go over this definition because I think it's important. It's important to know, for you guys to know, if you get charged with something. This is kind of where it's coming from. So I'll explain it better in a second. But so the definition of take. To take is defined as all operations during, immediately preparatory, immediately subsequent to an attempt, whether successful or not, to capture, kill, pursue, hunt, or otherwise reduce to possession any fisheries or wildlife resource. So let's say you're hunting duck with an unplugged shotgun, and I charge you with taking migratory bird with the use of an unplugged shotgun. Some people like to argue, well, I didn't kill anything, so why are you charging me with this? Well, this is where it comes back to. This is in the law right here. You were attempting to take migratory bird, and it doesn't matter if you killed anything or not, because it's in this definition, whether successful or not. It doesn't matter if you even shot once. I mean, you could just sit there and be watching. But some people like to argue about that, but this is the definition. This is in the law, and so that's where it's coming from, pretty much. So even if you don't kill anything and you're out there deer hunting and you don't have a license, you can still get charged. So just be mindful of that. Okay, so manner of take. So there's different manners of take. When it comes to deer, you can use a rifle, you can use a shotgun, you can use a pistol, you can use a muzzleloader. There's no caliber limits or anything like that. You can use archery equipment, a crossbow, a recurve bow. You can also use dogs, depending on what part of the state you're in. So the deer season is kind of broken up into different sections. So archery will open up first, and then muzzleloader season, and then the rifle season. So your bag limit is 6 deer. If you go back to the tag, you can see that each year you can harvest up to 2 bucks, and you can harvest up to 4 doe. there is no daily limit. So if you wanted to, you could shoot all 6 deer and tag out in one day. There is no daily limit on deer. The only thing you have to be mindful of is the gun either sex season. So in different parts of the state, the gun season is broken down into these seasons. So if it's the maximum season, the maximum gun either sex season, you can take a doe or a buck all season long. Doesn't matter. If it's the moderate gun either sex season, you can take a doe or a buck the first 2 weeks, and then after that, it's buck only. If it's the conservative gun either sex season, either sex harvest is allowed the first open day of the regular season through the first Saturday. So for 1 week, you can take a buck or a doe. After that, it's buck only. And then for the introductory season, you can take a buck or a doe the first day. After that, it's buck only. So in the regs book, there is I like it because they have maps. And it kind of color codes everything for you. So here's where it summarizes all that. If it's green, you can see right here, half the state is pretty much a maximum gun either sex season. So you can take a buck or a doe all season long. But if you go out west to the mountains, you have to be careful because some of the counties are introductory and then some of them are conservative and then some of them are moderate. So just be mindful of that. If you're going to a different part of the state, make sure you know what you can harvest and what you can't. That's something that people get confused on. And if you're going on game lands, it can be different also. So even though Wake County is a maximum season county all season long, Harris game land is moderate season, so you can only take a buck or a doe the first 2 weeks of the season. Even though Harris is on Wake County, it still has different rules. So if you're going to a game lands, make sure you look at that. And we'll talk about the game lands a little later. Let's see, what else? So hunter orange, make sure when you're out there deer hunting, you wear hunter orange. You only have to wear it during the firearm season. So once the muzzleloader season starts, you have to wear hunter orange. You can wear a cap or a vest, but it has to be seen, it has to be hunter orange 360 degrees around. So you don't have to wear both a hat or a vest, but you can wear either one, but you have to be able to see orange 360 degrees around. And also if you're hunting with archery equipment during the firearm season, you got to wear orange. If you're just hunting archery and it's only the archery season, then you don't have to wear orange. But I always encourage you to. Shooting hours are half an hour before sunrise to half an hour after sunset. You can use bait on private property, but not on game lands. So you can, if you're hunting your own property, you can go and put corn out, that's fine. But if you're hunting game lands, you can't put any corn out, anything. So here's a quick rundown on the game lands rules. Like I just said, you can't use bait. As of right now, you cannot hunt on Sunday. That's probably going to change, but you'll see it in the next regs book if it does. You cannot put any permanent stands up, so you can't, permanently affix a stand to a tree with nails or anything like that. You can put a stand up and just strap it there and leave it up all season. That's fine. You can do that. As long as you can put it up and take it down, that's fine. But just note that once you put that stand up and you leave it, it's first come, first serve. So you put your stand up, you leave it, you want to come hunting the next day, and somebody's in your stand, at that point, it's public property. So there's nothing I can do. I can't make him leave. I can't make him get out of your stand. Okay, so just be mindful of that. Make sure you stay 150 yards away from residents if you're hunting on game lands. You cannot use ATVs. If you get a deer and you're far away from the road, you're just going to have to drag it or get a cart and drag it. But yeah, you can't use ATVs on game lands. On a lot of game lands, especially down east, like the Croatan game land, there's going to be a lot of trails where it looks like you can drive. Like it looks like a legit trail you can drive down. But most of them you can't. If you get caught on those roads, you're liable to get a ticket for, not staying on the maintained road. So use ATVs or trucks. That's a big issue we have. You have to stay on the maintained road. And then I would just encourage you to look at the specific game lands for the specific rules. Each game land has its own set of rules. So if you go down, here's the general rules for the game lands. And then each game land, as you can see, is broken down and it has its own rules. So before you go to a game land that you've never hunted before, you definitely want to check this section out. Some game lands are open every day except Sunday. Like if you look at the Falls game land, 6 day per week area. Let me zoom in on that. It's a 6 day per week area, so it's open every day except Sunday. If you look at this Caswell game land, it's a 3 day per week area. So it's open Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays. So you just have to be mindful of that. Each game land has its own rules, really. Some game lands, like the Croatan, you can go out there and turkey hunt. Other game lands, like Harris, you need a permit to turkey hunt, and it's a lottery system. So you really want to be familiar with the rules of the game land before you go and hunt them. Let's see. So these are some things that I've come across that people get cited for most. This isn't like a statewide thing, but this is just what I've encountered. Not validating the big game report card. So they'll have their deer registered, but they won't have it actually punched out like you're supposed to. Not registering your big game, that's another one. Or not doing it by the deadline. Hunting on Sundays on game lands, and then hunting over bait on game lands. That's another thing. And then trespassing or hunting on somebody's property without written permission. Here in Wake in Johnston County, where I patrol, you need to have written permission on you in order to hunt somebody's property. In some counties, you don't need to have written permission on you. In Wake and Johnston, you do. And I might as well just show you. At the end of the regs book, the last section is the local laws. So if you're going to a new county to hunt, make sure you look at this too, because each county has their own separate local laws that you need to follow. So just be mindful of that. Then now we'll go over just some quick stuff pertaining to other species. Ducks and dove, both of these are migratory game birds. So you need that HIP certification if you're going to hunt both of them. For ducks, you need a federal duck stamp. You can go and buy that when you go buy your license. It's $26.50, I believe. So that's what you need if you want to hunt ducks, geese, any kind of waterfowl. You can't hunt over a baited area. So if you wanted to, you know, hunt a swamp in your backyard and you wanted to put corn out there, you couldn't legally hunt it over corn. Now you can put corn out there, and let's say you put corn out there today and tomorrow it's all gone. Well, you still have to wait 10 days before you can legally hunt that spot. And that rule goes for ducks and it goes for turkeys. You have to wait 10 days after all the bait's gone before you can legally hunt that area. Another thing is you need a plug in your shotgun. So a plug is just a, I wish I should have put a picture of it in the slides, but a plug is just a little plastic piece that goes in the mag of the shotgun, and it prohibits you from being able to put more than 2 shells in the mag. Now you don't need to put, you know, that plastic piece. Some people can, you know, they put sticks in there. They put, I've heard chopsticks now. That's a new one. But you need to have something there so that you cannot put more than 2 shells in the mag. So when I come check you, I'm going to check your plug. So I'm gonna be shoving up shells in the mag to see how many I can fit. And you know, if you put a stick in your shotgun and it breaks, I'm gonna keep putting shells in. And so make sure that whatever you put in your shotgun is sufficient and it won't break. I've seen pencils, so you know, some people do that. But just make sure you have that. If you're hunting dove or you're hunting ducks, you'll need one of those. Another thing that's different than if you're deer hunting is when shooting time ends. So shooting time for migratory birds ends at sunset. You don't have that extra 30 minutes of hunting time. Once it's sunset, you're done. Okay. You can look at the back of the Regs Digest to figure out your sunset, the official sunset time, or you can just look up on your phone. But that's the time we go by, the official sunset time. So just keep that in mind. And you also cannot hunt them on Sunday. You can't hunt migratory game birds on Sunday. So that's another thing that's different than deer hunting. For bear, like I mentioned earlier, you need that bear e-stamp. It's not included in the big game, your big game license, so you have to add that to it. It's just $10. You cannot hunt bear over processed food, so you can put out corn or sweet potatoes or peanuts, but it can't be processed. It has to be all natural. Once you put out, let's say, syrup or honey or I don't know, people put out cake mix or, you know, frosting, or I've seen vanilla extract poured over stuff. So once you do that, that's processed food. You can't hunt bear over that. It has to be all natural. You also cannot take a bear cub less than 75 pounds, or you can't take a sow with cubs. So if you're hunting and you see a bear like this picture with 3 little cubs, you can't take that mama bear. You also can't share tags, and this goes for all your tags, bear, deer, turkey, doesn't matter. I just put it up here because when I was training in Onslow County, we got a call from a processor that said a man turned in a bear. He wanted a bear process, but he turned in his daughter's tag. So we got up with the daughter, and she said, no, I didn't go hunting. My dad went hunting, but I didn't go hunting. So we got up with the dad and found out that he had used her tag. So, evidently, long story short, we could have taken away his license, but we didn't. He ended up paying the bear replacement cost, which it's pretty hefty fine, $2,232. He had to pay for using somebody else's tag. He didn't want his hunting license taken away, so he wanted to pay that fine instead. So just keep that in mind. You can't share tags. You can't borrow somebody else's tag. You can't sell your tag to somebody else. Your tags belong to you. You are responsible for them. So just keep that in mind. And lastly, turkey. So for turkey hunting, all you can use is a shotgun. You can't use a rifle or a handgun. Turkey hunting is also a little bit different in that it has a daily limit. The limit is 1 turkey per day. So the season limit is 2 turkeys, but you can only get 1 a day. There have been times where people have shot 2 in 1 shot. That's not uncommon. If that happens, just call us up and let us know, and we'll go out there and verify. If you don't call us and let us know and we find out about it, you could get in trouble. So just call us and let us know if that happens, because it does happen. Another thing is you can only shoot males and bearded hens. So if you look at this guy, his beard is right here. This is a hen, but sometimes the hen have that beard. And if they do, you can harvest them. Again, like I said with the bait, you cannot hunt them over bait. So if you put corn out, like I said before, you have to wait 10 days until after all that corn or bird seed or whatever you put out is gone to legally hunt that spot. You cannot knowingly take a wild turkey from within 300 yards of any place in which bait has been placed. So those are some things that people ask about a lot. Those are some things that people get cited for also. Also, you don't have to wear hunter orange when you turkey hunt. That's another thing. It's a good thing not to stalk them because you don't have to wear hunter orange, so you don't know if what you're stalking is a turkey or another hunter. So that's why people use blinds. They usually use a ground blind or something like that to hunt turkey. So be careful with that. But other than that, I know I went through that really quickly, but that was my presentation. Hope you guys have some questions. But other than that, that's all I have.
All right, that was excellent, Officer Herrera. And so now we'll go into a Q&A session. So I will give everyone just a minute or so to either get your hands raised or put your questions in the chat box. And I know we've got a couple there already. And I will start the Q&A off with, if you could explain, if they're deer hunting and they harvest a deer and they want to give some of that deer to someone else for free, of course, and share that, what process would they go through as far as sharing information?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. So if you wanted to give some of the meat to somebody else, you would just have to write down your name and the harvest authorization number, your hunting license number, and then the day that the harvest was taken. So that's all you have to leave with that person. That way, you know, if I stop them and I see that they have deer meat, I can check that. I can use that information to make sure that deer was legally taken and they're good to go.
All right, thank you. And we'll go to a question from the chat box. So there are requirements for archery equipment, pull, draw weights. Can you please explain the weights for the different archery equipment?
Yeah, so if you're going to use a compound bow, the minimum pull weight is 35 pounds. If you're going to use a recurve bow, it has to be 40 pounds. If you're using a crossbow, it's 100 pounds. So those are the minimum draw weights that, you know, each type of bow has to be. Honestly, I've never checked anybody's draw weight on their bow. So, I mean, I don't want to say it's not enforced, but it's not anything that I've ever looked at. But it's important that you want a good draw weight so that you have a nice clean kill and that animal doesn't have to suffer. That's why they have those standards.
Okay. Can you use bicycles on game lands?
Yes, you can. You can use bicycles.
That was an easy one. Let's see here. Do you need a license to hunt your own land?
No. So if you're the landowner or the landowner's spouse or his dependents who are under 18, you don't need a license, but you still need the tags. You still need to go get they're called license exempt tags. You can go get them at Walmart. And you still need to follow that process to tag your game, your big game.
And does a HIP certification expire?
Yeah, you need one each year or each time you buy your license.
Okay, and can you carry a sidearm during muzzleloader season?
Yes, you can.
All right, so I've taken all the questions from the chat box. Does anyone have anything else? There's a lot that goes into the regulation digest, so this is definitely your chance to have your questions answered. Let's see here, we've got one. Okay. Can you bring a non-licensed, non-hunting person along with you to watch, observe, or just generally hang out with you? What can they do and not do? That's a good question.
Yeah, that is a good question. So yes, you can bring somebody with you just to sit and watch. But that's all they can do, sit and watch. If, you know, as soon as they hold that gun or as soon as they, you know, help you pull out that deer, they're in the act of taking that deer. So they can't touch the gun, they can't touch your kill or anything like that. So they can strictly just watch.
How about with regard to permit hunts? Can someone go with you on a permit hunt if they're just going to watch and observe?
Yes, you can.
Okay, next question. What days can you scout on a 3 or 6 day game land?
You can scout any day that you want. You just can't have, a weapon with you. So if it's like a 3-day-a-week game land, you can go out there and walk all you want. You just can't, you can't have any kind of weapon with you.
And I was just curious, could you talk to the group a little bit about shining lights, or if you're out in the evening with regard to deer?
Yes. So, like I said, the deer hunting hours are, 30 minutes before sunrise to 30 minutes after sunset. Let's say that you kill a deer at sunset and it runs away from you, and you have to go track it down. So you can go track it down. You can use a light and go track it down until 11 p.m. that night. That's your deadline. You cannot use the vehicle or anything like that to go search for that deer. Now, with regards to spotlighting, it just depends on the county that you're in. In Carteret County, where I was stationed, you could shine all night long. You just can't have any kind of weapon in the vehicle with you. In some counties, like Pamlico County, for example, you cannot shine past 11 o'clock. So, if you're out there shining the field for deer and it's 11:05, you're at that point you're in violation of the law. And then in some counties you cannot shine at all. So let me see. In the book, it gives it summarizes it in a little map. So if you look, shining lights in deer areas. So if you look at the counties in white, they don't have any local light laws. So you can shine for deer and you can look, and some people like to scout that way. But you can't have a rifle in your truck. If you're out there shining and you have a rifle in your truck and I stop you, at that point I can charge you for night deer. And then some counties, like the ones in yellow, you can't shine between the hours of 11 p.m. and half an hour before sunrise. And then in some counties, you cannot shine between half an hour after sunset to half an hour before sunrise. So some counties you can't shine at all. It just depends on where you're at. So the main thing is, if you're in a county where you can shine, you can do it. Just don't have a weapon in the vehicle.
Okay. Got another question here. Can you have a round chambered prior to legal light, or do you have to wait?
Yeah, you can have a round chambered. There's nothing in the law that says you cannot.
Okay. Do the day number stipulations only refer to actively hunting on those days?
The day number stipulations. What do they mean?
I'll have Jordan. Do you want to unmute and ask your question about the day number stipulation?
Yeah, that was in reference to game land specifically, because some of them are like 3-day per week areas, 6-day, so on and so forth. Is that only specific to actively hunting? Like, can you access otherwise?
Yes, and that's what I meant. Those are the days for hunting, but other than that, if you go on an off day, I mean, you can still go and walk around on the game land. It's still open.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I'm gonna ask Timothy if you want to unmute and follow up with your question about even on a permit game land, what that was with regard to.
Yeah, that was in regards to scouting. I wasn't sure if you were allowed to scout on permit only lands on any time, or is there a certain time that you can scout according to that permit?
I think some permits have a day, a specific day where you can go out and scout. I'm not sure. I think it's some of the turkey permits that we give out. It gives you a specific day you can go out and scout. But other than that, if it's before the season and you're not sure if you want to put in for a permit, so you wanted to go scout it, you could go scout it. There's no specific open days for scouting unless it's listed on that permit.
Okay. If you have a concealed carry permit, can you carry a pistol with or without hunting?
Yes, you can.
And we have a question regarding county laws. Are those created at the county commissioner level or are they created by Wildlife Resources Commission?
Those are the county commissioner levels. Yeah, Wildlife Resources doesn't have, any jurisdiction or say on the local laws.
Okay, great. And any other questions? This has been great. You guys have a lot of excellent questions.
Mm-hmm.
Going once, going twice. Any questions? I'm sure Officer Herrera would be happy to answer any questions if you guys have anything in the future. I'm sure you can email her directly and she can answer those for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I should have put my contact information in one of the slides, but if this video is going to be recorded, then I'll say, I'll give my state cell if you have any further questions is 919-410-9659. I work Wake and Johnston County, so I can help you if you have questions about those counties or those game lands. But if you have a question about a different county or game land, I can certainly point you in the right direction. If you wanted to email me, my email is Kayla, Kayla, Herrera, Herrera, at ncwildlife.org. So you can call me, email me with any questions you guys have. I'd rather you ask me a question, before you go out and do something and then get in trouble for it.
And we had one more question come in. Does your deer stand have to be a specific height?
Oh, that's a good question. I forgot to hit on that. So in Wake County, if you're going to be hunting with a rifle, you have to be at least 8 feet off the ground. Other than that, you have to look at, your different counties. Other than that, no. If you're hunting in a different county and they don't have an ordinance like that, then no, and there's no height requirement. Good question, thank you.
Yeah, this is great. And yeah, so you guys, the Wildlife Resources Commission staff is very friendly and always available for help. And just like Officer Herrera mentioned, that they're here to help you guys so that you don't make mistakes once you get out there. So this is a lot of excellent information. And if we don't have any more questions, we'll go ahead and do the wrap up. We do have one more question here. Could you repeat your cell number one more time?
Sure. It's 919-410-9659.
All right, great. So we will go over the last two slides here. And We have special thanks to New Hill Education and Mentoring Program and all of the facilitating partners for this great webinar this evening. Watch for a post-webinar email with a link for all materials related to this evening's webinar and a registration link for the next webinar in the series, which is May 11th. And the webinar will be on archery hunting, and the speaker will be Andy from Opportunity Outdoors. So for those of you that are regulars, you have heard Andy speak before. He does a great job, and we're excited to have him for our next webinar. If you have further questions or would like more information on outdoor opportunities, please contact the New Hill Education and Mentoring Program at the link or Facebook page provided in the email and on the screen. Also, check out ncwf.org to learn more about the Wildlife Federation and to join a local chapter. So thank you all so much for this evening's presentation, and thank you, Officer Herrera, for your participation and everyone who was here tonight. So we appreciate it, and have a good evening.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.